it's Jeffrey with Real Nifty Vintage, and today I have some really big news. So, if you're a longtime follower, at least for the last 3-4 months, you might have known that I've been wanting a third booth, a third antique booth. Well, I finally got word that there is one available, and it's really like right next to my other two. So that is really cool. Now, I will take some footage very soon of this and sort of compile a video probably of like the whole thing of starting from a, starting a booth from scratch, because I think that'll be very interesting, at least for some of you to see, because this is going to be the most intensive booth that I've done. It will be themed out like the 1950s, down to checkerboard flooring, black and white, and the VCT tile. Now this is the 12-inch size because they don't make 8-inch squares anymore, the asbestos version. But yes, it's very awesome. I'm so excited. So I'm going to be painting the walls white. I've got, you can probably see back here in the back, there's like a cart. I have a couple carts. There's so much that you don't see that I've been living with for the past 3 months solidly. It's just ridiculous, really. But it's kind of fun. I don't know. I enjoy looking around and seeing the stuff that I know I'm going to sell, and it's just really great. So I went ahead and ordered some stamps, some custom stamp, a custom self-inking stamp, just like I do with my tags here. And we're going to get on to this haul in just a bit. But I ordered, like this has my dealer number, and the new booth, I'm going to have a separate look to it, the tag, so that I can make sure I know what each thing, or what am I trying to say? So I know what what's sold in each booth. Because right now I have 2 booths, but both booths, I cannot talk. Right now I have 2 booths, but both booths share the same number. And I do that just for practicality reasons. It's like sometimes it doesn't fit in one and it fits in the other, and I move things back and forth between the two, and otherwise I would have to like switch the tags out every single time I do that. And so, but the difference is this third booth will have its own tag structure, so I know exactly what's selling in that space. So what I decided to do is booth number 2, which is the secondary booth that I have. It's booth number 35, which that means nothing to you, but it's the second booth, and it's the one that has like some brown shelves in it, and it has like a carpeted back wall. Well, that one is going to be converted into the 1950s theme booth, so I'm very excited about that. And the reason I'm not using the third booth, the one that it's brand new completely to me, is because it's right next to that booth in the corner. And there's nothing negative about that except that the wall, it's an old bowling alley, it's the back corner. And as you know, bowling alley roofs, ceilings, they kind of go like this. So by the time you're in that back corner, it does this weird like neo angle thing. It's like really weird the way the corner does. And you can't see it in frame, it's way behind over there, but the countertop situation with the shelf on top of it, it's just too tall. It would not work in that corner. So the 50s booth has to be in booth number 2, and then everything in booth number 2 has to be moved over into booth number 3. All right, so enough about that, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you what's sold in the 2 booths that I currently have. I have 2 booths, and they are 8 feet by 8 feet square. So I sold $415 worth of items in the month of February. That's actually more than I was expecting, so that's really cool. I'm gonna go over exactly what did sell in just a minute, but also, out of the $415, there is a $41 commission, which is 10% of that total. And the commission encompasses the credit card fees, and also the time and all of that for the person at the register spending their day there checking out your items. So after all of that, I received a check for $373.67. So that is pretty good. I did also do another step that I don't normally do, and I went through afterwards and wrote down cost of goods and all that. If you're interested, cost of goods, not including the booth rent, cost of goods were $82 of that figure, so it leaves me with about $190 minus booth rent. All right, so quite a lot of things sold. I'm going to go ahead and go through pretty quickly. First thing is a strawberry tea towel. That sold for $5. I don't even remember what that is, but apparently it sold. And then we had a 1940s cake plate tin thing. I do remember picking this up at an auction, and I think I paid about $7 or $8 for it. So more than I would like to, but at that particular auction, things were going kind of high. So I wanted it a lot, and I paid up for it. I did sell some of these cars here. There's a 1988 car, a Ford Model A, and then another Ford Model A truck. Now the two Ford models, those I just put in the booth not too long ago, and I ended up doing a deal for $5 a piece. I had 6 and 6, but they sent me a message on Facebook. They do that often, and ask if I'll do any cheaper on some things. So I said, well, for the pair, $10 instead of 12. So those two sold, and then like I said, the 1988 Corvette did sell for $14.95, and that one I believe I paid, I don't know, about $5 for. It came with a couple of other little cars. Yeah, so it was maybe I think I paid $7 for all 3 cars, and I'm just gonna say $5 for the 1988 version. And so yeah, looks like model cars are doing pretty good for me, and I was able to sell those pretty darn easily. I still have a couple more of those model cars in the booth from the more recent haul video where I think I paid $6 or $7 for 4 cars. Yeah, not the best price, but they're selling, so that's good. I also sold a couple of these older items. I've had them in my booth for a very long time. We have a little teapot and then another teapot, one for $2.50, one for $4.95. And then there's this wood box that used to have all my old black and white photos in it, and they were just kind of sloppily thrown in with the tags sort of separately. And I was explaining this in a previous video that it was up to the customer to pick up the tag and a picture and then take those and go up to the register, and they just weren't doing that. So the new system is that I have a black and white photo in individual sleeves with the tags taped on them, and then I took all of those and I have them kind of in an upright container so you can flip through them easily. So I thought I might as well sell the wood box. So anyways, long story. Sold for $7.96. Now that is because I ran a 20% off sale, and you'll note that there are some other tags here that have slashes with pin writing through them where they've been adjusted, and that's 20%. So yeah, that item sold for $7.96, and what I paid for it, I don't know, maybe $1 or less. A lot of things that sell in my booth I get for next to nothing. So that's one of the great things about going to these auctions and buying things in bundles, because maybe I'm only after one particular thing to sell online, and then the other items are just incidentals that came with it, and they're great booth fillers, and they do sell. So box was probably one of them. I don't recall buying it, so I don't know. A ball freezer jar, that was another free item that came with something at an auction. It sold for $7.20 with 20% off of the 9. And then a mid-century carafe pitcher, that sold for $6. So not the best, but that did have a little bit of damage to it. The silver, well, I won't explain it. It had a little damage, but it needed a little TLC. So we sold some of these like glass things, $3.40, $6, and $4.95. They're just like little glass things from the 70s, 80s era. Pewter creamer tray set. I don't remember what that is, but I've had it for a long time. I can tell that because of how the pen ink looks. So it sold for $9. Milk glass vase, $2. And a glass ashtray. That's a high top bowl ashtray, and it sold for $8, which is a pretty good turn on a glass advertising ashtray. I also sold a floral tablecloth for $8, and then a couple little kitchen tools, $6.40 for a sifter, and then $4 for a dough blender. So those are cool. And I sold a few mugs, a circus mug, and then 2 Garfield mugs. They sold for about $2 or $3 a piece. And then I also sold the pair of these 1954 Millionaire line. They're pie savers, so it's Tupperware, and they came out, like it says there, in 1954. And I was thinking about maybe putting them online because I do know that they sell for about $12 for the pair, maybe up to $15. But you know, I was figuring that Tupperware does pretty good around here, so I thought I would try them out in the booth to see what happened, and they sold. So that's good to know that something like that will sell here for just what it sells for online. I also sold a cow salt and pepper shaker. Not many other salt and pepper shakers have sold here. I sold this red and white early American scene picture bowl set. That sold for $4.75. That I've had for a very long time as well. And then you might remember this because I remember it, and I was thinking it might have been a mistake, but this was some red and white transferware, and it was called like The Hunter by Mayotte, and it had like a pitcher, and then there was some dessert plates, and then a sugar and a creamer. Well, the dessert plates I put online, and they actually sold. One sold for $12. That was the teapot with lid, and then I sold the sugar dish $4.95, and then the creamer for $3. So that's really great. I think each piece, I'm trying to remember here, I think each piece at Goodwill was like 50 cents. That might be, I don't know. I don't know about the pitcher because that's a really big thing, but I don't think it was more than $2, the big pitcher thing. But either way, that was really good that those all sold, and I'm happy about that. Also, I sold this letter drawer, and I don't know much else about what that is. It's an old letter drawer. It could be one of those letter sorting station things, and that sold for $15. And then I did sell some soap. I sold one for $4.95, and then another person bought two for $9. Another person bought one for $3.96, which is 20% off, unfortunately. I wasn't expecting people to buy soap at 20% off because that's not a huge margin. I don't make a lot on the soap, but it's all good. It moves that old inventory out. And then I sold one for $4.95. And then one soap trivet sold for $2.36. And I remember those were like $1 a piece, and they don't even sell them anymore on that soap company that I purchased from. So if you're interested in the soap, I'll link it down below. It's a pretty good soap company, but they do require that you have at least $125 worth of an order to get free shipping. You could have a smaller order, it's just you have to pay for shipping then, and I don't like to pay for shipping. All right, so then we're almost to the end here. I sold an old swing line stapler for $7. That was a pretty good flip. I don't even know where I got it. But the staplers, they go for about that online, and there's so many online. It's so saturated that I was really hoping that it would just sell in the booth, and it took maybe 3-4 months, and it finally did sell, but very cool, $7. And then we have here an old wood Pepsi crate. This crate I think I got for free, I think. And this was from in the summer months whenever I was doing some trash diving, and you know, that's just a nice time to go do that whenever the weather's good and you have it's not so dark around 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And I found a house where someone, I guess, was moving out, or I don't know exactly what they were doing, but there was so much stuff in the trash cans, and one of them was this old crate. I believe it's this crate, and it was for free. So it sold for $22. I originally put 40 on it, then I marked it down to 28, and then it sold for 22 after they called me and said, what's a good price for this? And I said 22. And then this 1995 here clamshell bowl. This is something I've had in my booth for a very long time, probably almost to the beginning. It's a bowl that I bought new about 6 or 7 years ago for when I had my first house. And I was decorating at that time with all newer things. And I did have some older vintage things, but I had it in me that I wanted to buy everything new because that was a sign that you were well off, you know, whenever you can go buy new things. So I did that, and then I quickly realized that it's only new for so long. The last two things, I actually sold some Pyrex, and this is the early American 2-bowl mixing set. The thing that really helped me out this month in bringing that total sales volume up is this lighted curio cabinet that sold. It was sold for $120. I originally put $145 on it, just sort of kind of reaching for the stars. Didn't think it was going to sell for that, but I wasn't really ready to sell it right away anyway because I had small things in it. So it sold for $120, and that was a scenario where they called me and said, "What would you maybe they said 120. I think they offered it, and I said yes. But thing about that is, I sold it. I actually paid $35 for that curio cabinet, and it sold for $120. And then, like the next day after it sold, I found another person selling a curio cabinet for for $25. And now that one's in the place of the one that sold, so it worked out really well. And then I don't remember what I put on the one I just put in there, but it's probably close to 120. So very good whenever that happens. But all in all, I think I had a pretty good month, and hopefully we keep building and building and get this sales volume up to over 1,000. I think with the third booth, it should be that I would be seeing sales over 1,000 in the coming months. That's the goal, but we will find out just how well 1950s retro quiche things do around here. So I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye-bye.